the studio on a Wednesday for a workshop Wednesday, for a hobby hangout, for a WGNR live stream where we are painting. Once again, we're continuing our work on the ever so handsome, oh, let's get him zoomed in there, Swan by Modifius Entertainment in the Fallout Wasteland Warfare range. Thank you so much to everyone who's tuning in today, for popping in for another of our weekly or bi-weekly, every Wednesday that I have the time to do them, painting streams. We were away last week because, well, I had a bunch of company in town and a real life outside of this channel apparently, so wasn't able to make it for the painting stream, but we're back here today. And we're going to be doing some work on Swan. Thanks everybody for popping into the chat already. We got some folks popping in nice and early. George Keith, Zach Posey, Enclave, always good to see you whenever you can pop in. Zach Posey made it for a live stream after a mountain hike. So there you go. Hopefully this is the relaxing post hike cool down that you're after here today. So thank you so much, Zach. We got Fat Boy, we got Johnny Grogan in the house, all kinds of friends and well-wishers popping in today. And I'm sure we'll have more as we go on. We're going to get painting here in just a moment. Going to be going for about an hour today, and we're going to be doing some fun stuff. And it's a good day to be practicing with what we're going to be doing, because as you can see, you know, old Ryan has his little tremor here on the go today, so obviously not eating my bananas, but that's okay because we're going to do a little bit of brush work, and then we're actually going to move on to l'esponge. We're going to do some sponging and some stippling, adventures in stippling today, if you will, because we're going to start work on the big old anchor here. If you've tuned into previous streams, you'll know that we did a little bit on the anchor when we were in the dry brushing step, threw on just a little bit of silver. You can see it's just got a little bit of a metallic sheen to it and the chain, a little bit different than the grays and the whites that we worked with there, just to give it a bit of a different base coat and to have sort of that silver as an underlayer, to which we're going to do all kinds of rusting and stippling and like 3 or 4 different metallics. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm curious to see if we either make a complete horrid mess of it or it's going to be a good time. But we're going to find out. But before we get onto that, just going to do a little bit of edge highlighting on the boat, which we tackled last time. Just threw some speed paints and contrast paints on there, and then did a little bit of detailing. Oh, can't see there. It's picking up the sponge. There you go. You can see we did some contrast paints on the wood, on the actual boat itself, and then some good old-fashioned edge highlighting to get those ropes there. And we're going to come back and do a lot more details on the boat and the ropes when we do some of the other ropes and just do it all in one shot. But for now, we're going to dig in. We're going to get some painting jams going here on some tunes, and we're going to throw down on Swan, edge highlighting, first and foremost. And we'll get going. Let me know in the chat what you're up to today. If you're painting anything, let me know what you're working on. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, if you have any questions about, channel stuff, war game stuff, life in general. I don't know I'm the guy that you need to be asking those advice tips for, but I'm happy to help if I can. So pop into the chat and let's have a chat. I see Scott James in the chat today too. Hi Ryan, excited to join my first stream. It's 10 p.m. here in the UK. Well, that is dedication, sir. Scott, good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're gonna be painting for a little bit, about an hour or so, so we'll get you tucked into bed. No problemo there as we go. But thank you so much for tuning in. Always good to see some friends in the chat. And here we go. Let's get started, shall we? Highlights. Let's go with Deep Red, Intense Red from AK Interactive. This is kind of my go-to red for highlighting reds. I believe we used just the contrast Flesh Terrors red, if memory serves, to get the base tones on the boat. So this should go kind of nicely with that, I think. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it because, like I say, we're gonna do some weathering on that down the line. Maybe some oil effects. We'll see. So, not gonna go too hard in the paint, literally and figuratively here, with the edge highlights. But we're gonna get them going. A little bit of our red on the wet palette, and we're gonna rock in. Frost001 says, hello all. Hello to you, Frost, if I'm saying that correct. Good to see ya. Thanks for tuning into the chat. Today we're about to get painting on our first stroke of the day. So let's have at it. Zach Posey says, definitely give props to anyone who does miniature painting, even bigger pieces like Swan. I don't because I used to do model car painting and I have a very unsteady hand and the occasional twitch. Well, I'm feeling you on the unsteady hand part today. Got a little bit of a tremor on the go, but we're gonna do 3 points of contact. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one here, and hopefully we'll be looking all right. But model cars, yeah, you know what? You know what, Zach? That was my first love too. That was Saturday mornings. Me and the old man working on a. Didn't have any real old-fashioned muscle cars to work on, so we worked on models. And that kind of started my my love of the hobby, which has grown exponentially since. But here we are. That also sparked my love of the. Was it the 67 Camaro? Ooh, that was my dream car for a long time after putting that model together. Still is, I guess, technically. Fat Boy, you're back. What did you miss? Not a whole lot. You missed a little bit of preamble, talk about what we're going to get going on here today, which is starting with some edge highlights on the boat. Now, I say edge highlight because we're going to hit all the edges and use the edge of the brush as well to kind of get that clean, smooth edge across the hard, flat, sharp surface. But we're also going to do, you can see kind of in here, there's all these little pockmark little bits too that are actually, that's part of the resin. Part of the actual model is the boat has actually damaged itself. So I'm going to do a little bit of sort of checking and Xing around those edges as well to kind of give some more definition to that. So it's not just an edge highlight, it's a accent highlight as well. I'm trying to get around the divots, but not inside. Not worrying about being too clean with this because again, it's a chip. We're just adding some light to the volume that's already there. And normally we're using light or using paint to emulate light, thus create volume. But here we're kind of using the light to accentuate the shadow that's already there. Which, thank you, contrast paints. Also helps to add sort of like the odd sort of gouge, if you will, to the edge of your edges. Again, kind of gives that look of an actual chip, even where there isn't one. Frost says, Swan looks like he's coming out great. Love the anchor. Thank you. I'm very excited to get working on the anchor a little bit here later today in this stream. We're gonna do some quick edge highlights here on the boat to kind of give it a little bit of pop, and then move right onto the anchor and have a little experiment with some stippling and sponges. Because, I mean, Swan, he spends, most of his time in a pond. And as such, things get rusty. Things get rusty with old Swan. Leon James says, once you get home from work, I'm looking to play through some Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Ooh, fun. Legion, Survivor versus Legion proxies. Nice. Nice. Who's on your Survivor squad? Who's your go-to survivors? Gotta say, I'm a big fan of the classic Sanctuary Hills trio. Soul Survivor, Dogmeat. Throw Mr. Handy in there, Codsworth. Or a Mr. Gutsy if you're real spicy about it. Which is like my favorite robot. Both Wasteland Warfare wise and original video game lore wise. They're just so fun. Sergeant RL 13 or whatever from Fallout 3 has a big part to do with that. Another glorious day in this man's army. Fat Boy, what camera do you use for streaming here and your videos? Great question. Great question. Love talking tech stuff. The camera is a new addition here that we're using for the streams, which is why we're kind of doing the painting streams now. Because before, the camera setup I had was good, but not great for close-ups, particularly live streams like this. So this is a Sony ZV-1, I believe is the model. It's what we're using now for battle reports as well. It's not my ideal camera for battle reports because it does have some depth of field and some focus sort of constraints. But it's a little better than using the old iPhone. Was honestly what we were using for battle reports for the longest time. So using this now for most things. A lot of stuff, to be quite honest. iPhone 10. It's not that fancy. Quick stuff on the fly. A lot of videos that we've done, that I've done, have been just shot on the iPhone. Editing software-wise, that's what's really going to help set you aside. We use DaVinci Pro, I believe it's called. 18 they're up to now. It's a free software. You can get the paid version for it, but I've used many a video software in my professional life, and it's the one that I enjoy the most. It's pretty user-friendly if you've ever messed around with any of those before, like a Premiere Pro or an iMovie. It's pretty similar, but for what it is, free, it's a hell of a machine to help drive any videos. So I would recommend checking it out if you're looking to do some video stuff. And the Sony ZV-1, I believe, is the camera we got rolling these days. Yeah, that sounds right. Ooh, Scott James, painting up some gunners. Ah, yes, I saw you posting in the Discord there as well. You're going to be working on some gunners. Excited to see those coming to fruition. Love the work that you were doing there with the. I think that was you that posted with the Brother Vinny conversion with the old XO1 style shoulder pads, which I really dig. Gunners are fun. I'm a big fan of gunners. Yuri, we got Yuri up in here. This place is dumb. Everybody say hi to Justin. Hi, Justin. Guess who's going back in the overseer's chair on Sunday? Justin. For those of you who haven't been tuned into the live stream, the live show, I should say, we just finished a 3-part miniseries in our Fistful of Neutrons Fallout Colorado-y timeline. And we're going to be going back into Season 2 proper this Sunday. Going back to Kansas. I'll be playing Mr. Microwave again. We got Johnny back in the mix. Grant, Mr. Mike as the rifleman. All very exciting times. So it's this Sunday, 7:30. Season 2, kind of like I think we're headed into the finale arc. At least that's what Justin has intimated to us. So pretty exciting. Frost001 says, I'm amusingly assembling Tabitha and several Mr. Handys here, plotting to change Tabitha's set of real hair to be more anime inspired due to the local friends there. Well, that's fun. I'm curious. I'm always interested to see what people do, twists on conversions on models, especially like known characters like Tabitha or the Vault Dweller or something. I always find that really interesting when people do a really cool take. It's always a good time. Moving on to some more highlights here. Snake scales for the green of the boat. Not gonna go even less intense on this than I did with the red, just because this is a pretty vibrant color and don't want to draw too much attention to the backside of this. Really, it's kind of whatever. But we'll add in some chipping and the like, which will be good. Add a little bit of definition. The underpainting, slap chopping we did. It's harder to tell on the camera. It's the naked eye. You can see it a lot better, but you can see here on the edge, already have a lot of that natural highlight in there, so don't have to go so tough on this. But Fat Boy started using DaVinci Resolve. Yes, love it. Even being new to editing, highly recommend it. It's what we use here, just the free version, like I say. There's few things that you really can't do in the free version. So yeah, there's other transitions and stuff like that. It's not pay to play. You can still do everything you need with the free program, which is nice. Oh, Yuri, did we all like the thrilling finale of Home on the Rage on Sunday? I had a great time, I have to say. Stepping back in the overseer's chair, first love. It was a great time. I really enjoyed, kind of pull back the curtain on you folks a little bit on how that sort of came to be. Justin sort of just came to me a few weeks before we started the mini-series and just said, hey, you know that scene that I worked in about Longmount being under siege, you want to do something with that? I said, okay, sure. So it was a really interesting exercise in trying to tell an interesting story but without going too deep into any sort of lore at all. You know, why was there a mutant band roaming the Wasteland? I don't know. Well, okay, I kind of know. But also don't. Because we didn't go into really any of the lore. It was just sort of this situation is happening and what's going to happen afterwards. So I'm excited. I had a great time doing it. I'm excited to see what seeds it plants for the next season. And it's going to be a good time. But short story long. Very excited to get back into the playing chair, which should be pretty cool. Justin's been planning parts of this campaign and story for better part of 5 years now. So it's really cool to see it all come to fruition. Okay. So again, just going through and where some of the natural scratches are on the boat with the resin. Just building some of those up. Oh, yeah. Very delicate. Honestly, that might be about as much as we go on there. I think the rest of the weathering that we eventually do is going to tell more of the story there. So that's what we're doing. We're telling stories with paint. George, it was fun. I was thinking of how a farm or an artillery would do to the Unity. Well, we kind of got some answers with that. I have to say, I very, very much enjoyed the guys pulling the gotcha moments on me. That was a fun and different way to DM, and I see us using that mechanic more often as it goes. There we go. Okay, gang, we got some good edge highlighting done on this to give it a little bit more pop, which I like. Realized that I missed some of the ropes on this lower part here that actually tie sort of the wood around. Not going to bother with that right now. It's kind of boring. And I want to do some stippling today because that's going to be fun. So let's do that. Let's put away these greens and reds for now. And we're going to play around with a whole whack of different colors to get this effect. And I hope it doesn't end up looking like complete garbo. But let's find out. So, got some metallics. We already used that gunmetal for the dry brushing on the anchor. So now I think what's going to be interesting is adding in some sort of depth and some darker tones. Because I think like an anchor, it's not like steel, right? Like it's like iron or something, right? Because it's rust proof, I don't know, or it would be like painted in like a rust proof paint, right? So I'm thinking that like throwing every kind of metallic at the wall on this thing is going to be a good sort of place to start. Then going to add in some oranges, and particularly this technical Rise of Rust dry paint, as well as some blues and like sort of pastel-y sort of colors, to sort of get that patina of, you know, the rust oxidizing, or whatever it is. Maybe I'm mixing like 18 different metals together, but we got galvanized steel is common, Frost001 says. So there you go. It is a steel, apparently. But see, there you go. We're just going to mess it all together, see what comes about, and it should be kind of interesting, I think. So I'm actually not going to use the wet palette for this. We're just going to do it. You can see I've already done some stippling from other projects here on the old palette, aka cutting board. Actually, I've got another palette here. What I kind of use is like a texture palette, which is another project I'm looking to fire up here and do soon. But I got this old cutting mat here that I've just put a bunch of glue, like super glue, globs and bobs on, just to let it dry. It gives kind of a neat sort of texture for if you're doing any dry brushing. Get the gunk sort of off, the excess off here, rather than a paper towel so it doesn't dry out your brush. But it's also good for testing out stippling. So you can just see how it's going to play on different surfaces. So let's go ahead. We've already got some of this gunmetal on there. So let's try the iron. Mix it up. Mix it up. Zach Posey says, I actually loved you walking away and let them plan the defense. I felt like that is a neat feature that adds difficulty and excitement for both players and GM DM. I will definitely borrow that. Borrow away. I actually borrowed it myself from Justin, who I think borrowed it from Adventure Zone, maybe, anyway. But hey, nothing new is original. Wait, that's not right. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Everything's a remake of a remake. So yes, it was a lot of fun and it also felt thematic, right? Because, you know, it can be tough sometimes as a dungeon master or, you know, overseer or whatever, to suspend your disbelief, right? And take yourself away from what the players know, what you know, what the NPCs you're running would know. So it just felt like a really easy way of, okay, well, I have an idea for how they're going to attack. They don't know what the attack looks like. Why would I know what their defense looks like, right? So that's what we did. I walked away knowing what I knew and walked in, and they had a whole new game plan, and it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun. We debriefed about it a little bit afterwards, and I think had we done it differently, I don't think it would have been quite as like exhilarating for us as players too, right? And hopefully for you folks at home too. So, but yes, it was a lot of fun. If you do steal it, let me know how it goes. And for anyone who's not on our Discord already, check out the link in the description. So if if it's not a live stream, you can still chat with us. Let us know what's going on. I'm the most active on the Discord just because, you know, the rest of the guys have actual lives. But we're all there hanging out. So yeah, come on in and have a chat. So here we go. We got our sponge. We got our rough iron. We're going to do some dabbing. It's not going to be that scientific, gang. We're just going to kind of start and see how it goes. Oh, yeah. We'll get a little bit more on there. Yeah, it's too much. There we go. There we go. So the nice thing with this is that it adds, you know, both color, but also texture. Which is kind of more what we're going to be going for. Oh no, shoot! Ha! I've just cracked Swan's his little hook. We're going to have to glue that back on. But we'll go back to that later. Let's stick with the paint while it's wet here. Right, texture is what I was saying. Yes, because we want to sort of simulate not just the color of the rust, but the accumulation of minerals and, you know, barnacles and all kinds of nasty aquatic shit in here. Oh. The old switcheroo. There we go. Here we go. Fat Boy says, Uncle Atom from Tabletop Minions just did a video using silicone fidget popper from Amazon as a paint palette, and it works. Oh, you know what? I've seen those popping around online. Now I know why. Yes, one of my favorite painters, Nurgle Snurgle, which is just an amazingly great name. Has been using one of those over like the last week, and it's like all over her Instagram, and I'm like, what the fuck is this thing? So it's a fidget toy that people are using as a paint palette. That answers all my questions immediately without even having to ask. See, this is why everyone should have a YouTube channel. Inevitably, you always find out answers to inane questions you were too afraid to ask. I'm gonna have to check that out now too, because now that you say what it is, it actually makes perfect sense, because it's got all the little poppy buttons. Yeah. Frost says, use old 25-cent toy cases from coin dispensers for paint palettes. Oh yeah, that works too. I've got a couple of the dollar store art project tempera paint style little palettes kicking around here somewhere. But I mean, most things I use the wet palette for, but yeah, interesting to say the least. Always looking for little hacks like that too. Find like the like these little paint cups. Can't remember where I found these little cups, but they're like basically the exact same as airbrush cups. I got like a whole like pack of them, like a couple hundred for a couple dollars, and I cannot remember for the life of me where I got them from. But yeah, finding those little hobby hacks can be a big game changer. Going in now, gonna really spice things up. Bronze. This Bronze by AK Interactive. Maybe it's just old colorblind self here, but this Bronze is my favorite color for a gold. It's a very bright bronze, but it's also got like some of that darker brown that you see in gold there too. I find it works really well if you mix it with other shades as well. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. Going both over where we've already gone and next to where we've already gone. We're just gonna keep going, layer after layer. Go back to the bronze for a bit here, or the iron, I should say. This is gonna be fun. The trick will be knowing when to stop, which has historically always been my problem with most things. I don't have addiction issues, what do you mean? I just can't stop. There's a difference. There we go. Let's throw some silver in there for good measure, shall we? Let's see any other catch up on some chats I've missed here. Great example. Fat Boys says, needs to catch up on the episode. A great example of nothing is original. King Arthur mythos. It's built up over centuries by essentially fan fiction. Yep. That's about right. Do love me some Arthurian? How do you say that? Legends? My goodness, gang, am I out of gunmetal? This could be a travesty. Oh, no, I think we're gonna get it. We're gonna get enough squeezing out here slowly. One drop at a time. That'll be enough to get us going. IHDR, look at that. Hello to you. Hello to you as well. Happy to finally catch one of your streams. Well, thank you for tuning in. I'm happy that you finally made it as well. What took you so long? Just kidding. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming. Always good when we can get some more folks involved in the live stuff. Part of the reason, again, that we're doing these live streams for the painting is, to sort of expand and do a different, a different time slot than a lot of other folks, because we've got, the show on Sundays that can be tough for the, for crowds with, we got folks with kids, we got the, the UK crowd, and the European crowd, the German folks, which, their times is always a little tricky. So, I'm glad you can make it. Short story long. That's precisely why we're doing these, is to, get more folks able to do more. And it's also fun. So we get to do all kinds of fun stuff, like playing with this stippling here. So you can see we're starting to get some good sort of depth of color with the goldish brown, and then the bronze, and then the silver. Like, there's almost like some green tones coming through already, which is kind of cool. Maybe that's just a reflection of his skin, which is also super fun. We're just gonna keep going with these three for a little bit more. Then we're gonna get into the coloring and the rust. We'll probably work on his chains too, I think, after that. Seems like a natural transition. Really build up the thickness, get some more globs here. Oh, that's too globby. There we go. Get that texture on there. Fat Boy, how long do I stay live? The painting streams usually do about an hour. Mainly because I've got editing to do these days. We are catching up on a backlog, and by we I mean I, catching up on a backlog of videos. We've been trying to pump out. The most recent one, which hopefully will be coming out by the end of the week, maybe early next week, just because life is getting a little crazy these days. Will be a review of the preview video. That sounds weird, a review of a preview of the recent, just last Friday, Modifius released a preview video of the new Fallout Factions game. So for those of you who may not be up to snuff on that, it's loosely tied to the Nuka World wave for Wasteland Warfare, which will be, the reveal for that will be this Friday. And this is a whole new game that is going to be compatible with Wasteland Warfare miniatures, so the scaling will be the same, but a whole new system. It's designed by James Hewitt, who's designed like Necromunda, Adeptus Titanicus, so like some big Games Workshop games that aren't 40k, but 40k adjacent. I believe he worked on the 2018 Kill Team as well. But short story long, we've got a brand new game. It's like a progressive, competitive focused campaign style game. And we're gonna be all over that when it comes out. But part of that is they released an 1.5 hour long gameplay video, which I've had to go through with a fine-tooth comb. So the longest part of that video has been actually dissecting the previous video. So it's a really long way to answer your question that I'll be wrapping up around 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. Because I've got work to do. But it's work I love to do. And when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, yada yada. Except this isn't my job, but it'd be pretty cool if it was. Okay, I'm liking how this is going with the metallics here. Thinking it's going to be time to shift on to the rust. Yeah. I'm going to grab a slightly smaller bit of sponge with a pair of tweezers here, just so I can get in these smaller areas. Right around where his hand is, sort of the end here. Not too worried about getting too much coverage there, because I don't really want to get any more metallic on his hands than I have to. But if I can get just a little tiny little sponge or do there, get a little bit of that bronze on there, and just to add a little bit more variation there. Just to say that we did. So if somebody ever looks at the anchor and goes, why didn't you stipple the handle part? I'll go, I did, motherfucker. Watch the tape. Watch the tape. 1 hour or 35 minutes in. Normally I'm a fan of, if you can't see it, don't paint it. But we're doing a stream, so I'll use the tweezers. It's actually handy for some other spots in here too. Oops. Not when you drop it though. Not when you drop it. And it's so tiny. There we go. Cool. But yes, if you haven't watched that video that came out last Friday, pretty cool stuff. It's a very different beast than Wasteland Warfare, but yeah, it's cool. Scott James says, I really enjoyed the factions video. Very interested to find out more about it. Friend and I come from PvP wargaming rule sets, so it seems more suited to that, but will still fit with the Fallout narrative. Yeah, that does seem to be my takeaway too. You know, it plays more like a traditional sort of style of war game. You use, well, of course, for some reason you're using D10s and I think everything's on a D10. But just like the 6 is right there, man. Everybody's got 6s. Anyway, that's kind of my one big gripe so far, is that like we're moving away from proprietary dice like Wasteland Warfare has, but we're sticking with non-traditional dice that not everybody has. I mean, I guess if you're wargaming, yeah, you got D10s and you can go down to your whatever and buy a handful of D10s from the, dice goblins there. But just like, why didn't we just do D6? I got a freaking boatload of D6. Anyway, but yes, looks like a good time. I like the progression sort of system. It looks like it's going to be not that punishing as far as I can tell. Like there's some gripes in, older Necromunda and stuff where like, if you just kept losing, you just kept losing because you could never level up your guys and your opponents were always getting better. So like you lose a couple games, your faction's toast. It sounds like they've tried to avoid a lot of that. So it's gonna be more kind of like 40k, like Crusade almost, where you've got your base stats and your base units, but then you're getting kind of extras as you go that balance out with your opponent, which I think is cool. Which I think is really cool. Yeah, D10 for the specials. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, and I do believe, at the very least, that probably, if that didn't come directly from Bethesda-y folks, that they probably went out of their way to do that specifically for that reason, which makes sense. Got to keep it in the lore, yada yada. But yeah, sometimes easier is better. But I do get it. but it looks like it plays fast once you kind of get your head around it. Looks like it plays faster. There's a faster pickup by the looks of things than Wasteland Warfare, with the 16 million symbols and proprietary dice and really bad core rulebook. What happened to the hook on the end of Swan's boat? Yes, IHDR. While I was stippling here, I had him propped up like this, and I put a little too much pressure, and it broke off. So I'm going to glue it on right now before I forget and before I lose it. I should probably pin it. Okay, this stream just took a different direction. Here's a new lesson on pinning. When you break weird shit like this, a pin vise is your best friend. Which I have somewhere, because I accidentally bought a ridiculously expensive pin vise. So I might as well get to work on it. Or might as well get to use it. If he knows, if I know where it is a better question. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay. So, as I turn my light off, there we go. So, Whoopsie is right. Lay whoops. But, so what we're gonna do here, rather than just glue this on, throw some super glue, hold it here and pray, we're gonna bust out this little guy. Which is a lovely little pin vise that the guy at my local hobby shop, he didn't mean to, but he very much upsold the shit out of me. You know, one of those guys who just tells you about this really cool piece of gear, but then doesn't tell you how much the thing is until you get up to the counter? Yeah, that was what happened to me. So this is where we are. Oh, of course I need the bit. Hold on, folks. Technical difficulties. Be right back. Because while a pin vise is great, it's not much good without a drill bit. My little bits go. This little guy. Let's see here. Nope, that's significantly too large. Here we go. There's a little guy. So tiny little bit for a tiny little repair job. We'll say this is like a Cadillac of pin vices, but it did cost like 30-40 bucks. It was definitely one of those moments where like I got to the counter and the guy was like, yeah, so that'll be like $43.95, and I was just like, I guess we'll put it on Visa. I can afford that. There we go. Nice thing is that this resin is really easy to work with, but that does mean it can tend to crack. Just a little tiny hole, you see, drilled in there now. Or can you see? Yeah, just a little guy right there. Not gonna go in too deep, but enough for when we put a little piece of wire through, you'll have something else to grab onto. Spool of wire, a little pair of snips, and we got a pin. slot it into our hole there. Perfecto. A little bit of glue. There it is. There we go. So now we got a little pin. We'll have to cut that down to size, obviously. It's a little large. But now we do the same thing. Drill a hole on the end here. Let's see, where's it going to go? Yeah. Just a little bit of super mutant surgery. No big deal. No big deal. Sergeant Scully. Oh, hello. It looks very cool, bro. Can you show how big the furniture is with normal, regular unteened ones? Thanks. Bottoms up. I think we're dealing with the language barrier, but if you're looking for the model, there's the big boy. All by himself. Oh, yeah. We're doing some quick surgery here, gang. Dylannario. Thank you so much for joining and becoming a Wastelander member. Thank you so much. Your support means the world to us. We are going to be doing some more giveaways this upcoming weekend on our live stream, and joining up on our Patreon or YouTube is a great way to get an extra entry into future giveaways. So Dylannario, thank you so much for joining in. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, I see we got some other stuff going. Oh yeah, I'm terrible with the acronyms, which is surprising from being from the military. You mean TLAs, do you? 3-letter acronyms. Yes, indeed. My own times working, not in the military, but on a military base, got me very familiar with TLAs. And thank you for your service. Cut this down just a little bit more. There we go. And just like that, a little bit of glue, we're gonna be back in shape with old Swan's hook. I'm gonna have to do a little gap filling. Either some UV resin or some milliput maybe, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. There we go. Almost good as new. Look at that. You can barely tell. Do a little bit of cleanup, but no big deal. And there you go. A quick lesson in what not to do with resin miniatures, and a quick lesson on what to do if you break one. Go. Dylannario, very welcome, sir. I always love the videos very much as a lurker, but thanks for the great content. Well, lurk no more. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to myself and the rest of our little idiot crew that we got here. But speaking of idiots, I've moved on back from my repair job, and we're back to the anchor. There we go. So we're looking mighty shiny. I think it's time to dirty it up with some rust. So we're gonna do just that. We're gonna start with the Rise of Rust, and we're gonna get tapping. Catch up on some chats here. Oh, I see we got some gang bonding over their time in the service. Fantastic. I imagine most of y'all are American, which is fantastic because a lot of those designations do not ring true for myself. Thank you for all you do. Excuse me. Rise of Rust is a dry paint, but it's like a little too dry. Getting in there. Bust out the pliers again. Not pliers. Tweezers. Tweezers. Sponge. Right into the pot. There we go. the good stuff. Now this stuff's pretty globby and gloopy, so it's gonna do like insta texture. Maybe be a little too thick too. There we go. Oh yeah. Ooh, that's nasty. But in a good way. Because that is what we're going for. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, stoked for factions. Really excited for the Nuka World reveals this Sunday. Sunday? Why did I say Sunday? Friday. Sunday's our live show. Nuka World reveals are Friday. That's gonna be cool. So it's a big ModCon live stream, which is pretty neat. I will be there in the chat. Not doing the helping host or anything like that this time around. So I'll just be enjoying all of the good stuff along with all you fine folks. And I'm super excited because there is a shit ton of stuff coming. If you're a Raider fan, this is going to be the wave for you. Coming in with some blues now on that orange. Gonna go with this Araman blue first. I was debating the intense blue, but I think it's too intense. I think we need something a little more pastel-y because we're gonna go work into this sort of, I don't even know what this color is. Light green blue. It's got a name on it right there. I call it faded blue jean blue. It's just what sticks in my head when I see that. Ooh. Guessing there will be Mags Black, Nisha, Mason, and their general lieutenants from Frost 001. Yes, that would be safe. I can't confirm or deny what I might know about some of the stuff that hasn't been officially released yet. But those are all pretty safe guesses. Let me tell you what. There's a couple surprises in there too. Stuff that I didn't see coming. There's a lot of like, oh yeah, okay, sure, yeah, for sure. But then there's like, okay, cool. Like I say, if you're a fan of Raiders, you'll be a fan of this wave, and well, let's just say, if you're, there's gonna be some creature and robot stuff in there for you too. Here we go. Yeah, this Armand Blue's kind of nice. It's kind of got like an aquamarine thing to it here a little bit. Go. Look at the chat here. Some gator claws. We all know Mod likes its monster claws. They do that, don't they? We've had some pretty neat monsters over the last little while. I mean, what, we're on to the third Deathclaw now? With the Enclave variant? I'm really excited. I think Nuka World's gonna add sort of like an interesting flavor to the game. I mean, it's gonna tie in real well with the faction stuff, because it's starting with a focus on Nuka World. But they have said that there is a plan for more and different things. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But I think more so than New Vegas, I think it's going to kind of be a really interesting time and place expansion. Um, and the kind of thing that, you know, it's, yes, it's, you know, Nuka World and, you know, specific raider gangs and stuff, but I think there's going to be a lot. I think there's going to be a real excitement about it. There's something about that Nuka World vibe, and like, it's a Fallout theme park, and Fallout Wasteland Warfare is like it's a it's like a theme park version almost of like playing Fallout. There's just something really exciting about it for me. So I'm stoked. And it's been a minute since we had a wave, right? I mean, Capital Wasteland was good and all, don't get me wrong. I am a huge Fallout 3 fan, but this feels less like playing catch up. Like New Vegas and Commonwealth and Capital Wasteland felt like, okay, well, we just kind of got to get this stuff out there because we need to have this covered. Nuka World feels like fun, you know what I mean? Feels like a vacation. So that's a long-winded way of saying I'm really excited for the ModCon stream on Friday, and I hope y'all are too. Take a look at that anchor team. It's starting to look pretty messed up. Really liking how this is coming together. It's almost like I just can't, like no matter what, it just can't get gross enough. And it's a good thing in this particular instance. So I'm gonna do another layer of the orange here. And I think that'll be where we'll call it for the day. I'm gonna have to get myself some more gunmetal, apparently, because we've got a lot of chains and like hooks and things on this guy, and if I'm out of my go-to metallic, oh no, I have to go to the model store. Whatever will I do? Little did they know. That was his plan all along. Go, just try to blend some of these blues and oranges a bit more here. Oh, of course, went a little too hard there. Just stipple it away. Oops. Pretty great. Okay, we're gonna do one quick, very light one with this light green blue, and that's what we'll call it for today. Gonna try to go as ginger as I can with this one. Oops, overspend, George Keith says. Yes, that is the problem, and what we're historically trying to avoid. Oh no! I slipped and fell onto a Thunderhawk gunship. Oh no! Nah. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. It'll be a one paint and out. He said with absolutely zero confidence in himself. Oh yeah, that green blues. That rug really ties the room together. Oh boy, does it ever. Holy smokes. Big fan of how that's coming together. What do you think about that? That's some scunge there, hey gang? Really, really liking how that's coming together. Like, you don't really need to get much more fancy than that. I mean, we will do more on this. But for now, I think we're in great shape. Look at that, eh? Just in the last 2 sessions, breathed a lot of life into them here. I think once we actually get going with the chains, and we'll do some rust streaks, because we've got it, and we're working on a rusty piece of metal. Why wouldn't we throw some enamel wash on there? So we'll play with that a little bit next time too, and then I think we're going to be moving on to the trickiest part of this whole thing, is going to be the torso details. I guess we could probably tackle his dumper of a diaper first. So maybe that'll be next week. Maybe we'll go waist down next week, do a longer one, and then that'll lead us towards the end of this project. I mean, it's gonna take a couple sessions alone just to get going on all of the feathers and the ropes. Oh my god, he's got so many fucking ropes. But you know what? It's gonna be worth it when it's all said and done, because that's what this live stream's all about. We're painting Swan one step at a time, one sponge and one stipple at a time. But this is really coming together. I'm really enjoying just between last stream, the boat, and the big old freaking anchor. Yeah, we're getting there, folks. I think we had a running bet for how long this project was going to take. The smart money was in and around 7 streams. I think we're going to be looking closer to 10. But time will tell, because we're starting to make some progress. And like I say, next time, we're going to be coming around and starting to work on some of those more details. We'll knock out the chains quick, do a little bit of cleanup, and then start knocking out the less important details, right? The diaper, the leg things, we'll knock those out quick, because then we're going to really want to spend a lot of time on the feathers and those, really cool swan bits. So that's where we'll get. IHDR says use skeleton bone contrast for ropes. That's an interesting thought, actually. And now that you say that out loud, and I think about the tone of that, it actually makes a lot of sense. My go-to recipe for ropes is British Uniform, which is kind of like this green brown, and then where did it go? Hemp rope. Sort of lining the knots then with this hemp rope. It gives it kind of that cool, well, maybe you don't know Canadian Tire, but like that standard ass yellow rope you get in like a hardware store. It just it just looks like that to me. So, but skeleton horde, yeah, I might actually give that a try. Good advice. But thank you all so much for tuning in. That is where we're gonna wrap it today. The joys of stippling, right? Look at that. We've probably only spent, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes on the actual stippling itself. We lost some time doing a quick repair job on the hook, but there you go. That's the way it goes. Two paints, no LOL. Yeah, I know. I'm a masochist. What can I say? For a project like this, I'm going to go the extra mile and do some highlights. But yeah, if it's on your average raider, forget about it. But there we go. But that is a bridge that we will burn on the next stream when I inevitably start pulling what little hair left I have out of my head. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to be back on Sunday for another 2D20 live show, picking up where we left off in Season 2 of Fistful of Neutrons. That's going to get going on 7:30 on Sunday. But before that, stay connected to our Instagram and YouTubes and all those things, because we're going to be streaming along and in the chat with the ModCon reveal this Friday. So there's going to be lots of talk about Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Obviously, we've got the Nuka World stuff coming up, new Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, and there's also going to be some chat about Fallout 2D20 stuff. So maybe we get a little sneak peek of what's coming up next as far as quest books and all that kind of fun stuff goes. So it's going to be a really fun one. Hope to see all you there. We're going to be in the chat slagging along. So that's enough rambling on from me. We'll be back Sunday for another live stream, and then Wednesday next week for another painting stream. So until then, stay safe, stay tuned, because as always, WGNR, we'll be back. But until then, bye.